the town, the nation, the globe, buzzing around. It's the word on the street. Talk of the town, the nation, the globe, buzzing around. The word on the street. Talk of the town. Talk now, talk now, talk now.
San Antonio, Texas.
This goes.
Hi! Welcome to TalkNowSA. I'm Vanessa Macias. I'm not Chris Duel, obviously. My shirt's not loud enough. My hair is. But Chris is in a meeting right now. He's doing some really important Chris Duel stuff. So I have pitch hitters here. Pinch hitting. We have Ross Ruediger and also John Picacio. And now, Ross.
Yes, Vanessa. How are you today?
Ross is the funniest person on Facebook. If you are not friends with Ross on Facebook, you are missing out on little morsels of life that you're going to regret for the rest of it, for the duration of your existence on the planet. Because he's the funniest person on Facebook. And so he's on, and actually, we're supposed to do something on last Friday together, when Chris is out of town, but there's an emergency, and we totally understand that. And you know what? I appreciated the day off. But then I got subsequent days off because we had technical difficulties.
Yeah.
So I had almost a week off.
Yeah, it seemed kind of strange.
Which is really weird. I never have any time off.
We're going to make up for it today.
Oh yeah, let's do it.
We're going to make up for it today.
And so you bring a friend.
I hope to call him a friend. I've never met John until today.
Yep. A friend is a stranger you haven't met yet.
I know, but I have been and kind of a distant admirer of his work. John Picacio. He's, I think, probably one of the most talented artists we have in our city.
It's all going downhill from here.
And I'm not sure that he really gets a lot of the recognition on the local level that maybe he deserves.
It's because I stay in my hole all day long.
You do?
Stay in your hole. But see, a lot of artists are almost hermitical. Like, when you see people who are really, really talented, they kind of do keep to themselves. There's a certain level of genius, I think, that comes with comedy and with artists that you have to. I think. Gosh, somebody said it the other day. It was somebody unexpected. I think it was Calvin Cowherd, who's a sports radio guy.
Oh yeah, I've heard.
Yeah, he said something like the guys who are really good at sports kind of keep to themselves. Like if you're kind of out there and you're kind of accessible, you're not good. You're not that good. You're there's a certain level of keeping to yourself that comes with that level of genius.
I think at a certain level, when you're talking about athletes or you're talking about artists, comedians, anybody who's working at a professional level, trying to keep a roof over their heads, trying to support a family. I mean, unfortunately, you don't have as much time to knock off as you did when you were not supporting a family and not carrying a roof over your head. So and all those things. I mean, there's a certain level of sort of solitary confinement that it, necessitates to be able to get the work done.
Yeah.
And especially if you're juggling all of these different gigs, then you've got to lock down. That's just the way it is. But you get out, and part of being, whether you're a comedian or whether you're an artist, you have to look and observe and see and constantly be a part of life.
Right.
But it's an interesting juggling act.
Yeah, because you have to be able, and we were talking about this yesterday, be able to pick out the little nuances in human life that are consistently drawing to people in any facet. Like you say something funny, it's not going to be funny unless it's something that a lot of people can identify with and relate to somehow in their mind and their psyche. Like, oh my God, that happened when I was 5. It's hilarious. Or some little drawback.
Right, jokes aren't written in a vacuum.
Right.
I think it's always personal.
The same thing with art. I just I'm looking at this right now.
Yeah.
And I mean, you see something like this, and it can be interpreted so many different ways, and depending on who is looking at it, they're going to get something completely different out of it. And that's.
But I think with sports, with comedy, I've heard this before. I don't know who said it, but like the great athletes always take it personally. There's a pride issue. There's a personal. And I don't mean personally. Like usually when we say taking it personally, it usually means taking things defensively, or it has a negative connotation. But like the great athletes literally take it personally. I think great artists do that. I think great comedians do that. And I think it comes down to sort of, like I say, it starts from the inside out. You make an observation. It's not that you're trying to sort of do something create something immediately that is a popular notion. You start off with it from a very personal place, and then if you happen to do something that's a touchstone for sort of a greater audience, then it becomes popular. But I think when you go in looking to do something popular, you're kind of just doomed to fail from the beginning.
Yeah, you can't go in trying to appeal to people because then it's just inauthentic. I
don't think so.
Unauthentic, rather.
Well, no, it's true. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I can see that. So, but if it's
Whether you
something
made it up
that's
or not.
genuine and to you, like to inherent to your being, then
Yeah.
I think
That's
people.
the way it starts,
Yeah, I can
think.
see that.
That's the way it starts.
So tell me about this.
What did
Ooh,
you
it's
play?
calendar.
Did you play Mexican bingo?
Oh, yeah.
As a kid, loteria. It's like you and me. It's like loteria. We know it. I
Yeah.
talk to anybody outside the city, or God forbid if I go north, forget it. Which is cool. That's what education's about.
I think Spanish classes across the planet play Loteria, which is funny because it's like everyone knows El Borracho's the drunk guy, and then El Sol's the son. But then outside of that, what's your vocabulary in Spanish?
Well, yeah. I mean,
Drunk guy in the sun.
I think these icons are more ubiquitous than people realize. You see it all the time on menus, and you just don't even. I mean, like for me, it's around all the time. It always was. Whether I was in San Antonio or elsewhere, or West Coast, East Coast, the stuff's out there. It's been appropriated into sort of the greater mainstream culture. It's just people don't really realize where it's sourced from. So I've started creating my own versions of this in sort of a SFF, science fiction fantasy genre way.
Cool.
And so I'm working. It's like 54 cards. So I'm sort of just at the beginning of this process of redoing all of these and reimagining in my own way. So there'll be a calendar at the end of the year, or not the end of the year. We have to be before the end of the year, or else we'll be in trouble, aren't we? Yeah.
Wow.
So this fall we'll be debuting a calendar. It'll be a 2014 John Picacio calendar that'll have the first 12 images from the Loteria stuff.
Neat.
Yeah. So these are some examples of it.
Now, which one's your favorite?
As far as like the
Like the cartoon,
What's
the
your
old school.
favorite child?
I loved El Diablito, of course. The
yeah.
devil. And then La Luna for me was always, because it was like this really crisp, iconic blue background with that really clean white crescent moon silhouette. But it was always like the best drawing. That was like the best drawing in the whole set.
neat.
Well,
drawings are
I'm
kinda-
such a white guy.
Did you never play?
No,
I should have brought some of these.
I moved here
Oh
when
my
I was
God.
16. I don't know anything about what you guys do. This is way
Really? What you
really?
guys do? No,
Way
well,
going over my
Dawn,
head.
Dawn Murphy really well, and she was a producer here, and she's been a
Yes.
producer in radio for a number of years. But she's white as the day is long,
Yeah.
and her family plays Spanish bingo. Like they drink on
Look, I don't
holidays.
even play
and
white guy bingo.
Yeah, well, that's
Cut
the
me
thing.
some slack
Yeah,
here, right?
No,
I don't think I've ever played white people bingo.
Never played white people bingo?
White people bingo.
Oh my God, it's so awesome.
Is that where you have,
I
like-
say that I've never played it as a kid.
You know what?
It's the same thing. It just doesn't use the letters and the numbers. It
Right,
just has these
okay.
little graphic icons.
I think I have, but in like real life.
Right.
Kidding. Like I've dated so many white guys that I think you just put them in the bingo category. And it's like y'all all line up. Oh, bingo! Yeah. I got a short, fat one and a really tall one that wears a lot of tanner. Now bingo!
Bingo.
Yeah, there you go.
It's the same thing.
All right.
It just uses pictures,
All right.
which is
All
cool
right.
for an
Yeah.
art person.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, and it helps you like build your Spanish vocabulary to a certain very limited
Well, I could
extent.
use any help in that area
Yeah.
that's available to me, I'm sure.
But it's really cool. Like it's you go to Guadalajara bar and you look up and it's on the ceiling.
Yeah.
And then you said it's on menus everywhere.
It's
you go
everywhere.
through
It really is.
like Market Square and they have like paintings and different renditions of it. I mean, it's really
It gets appropriated all over. Like
Yeah.
El Mundo gets appropriated.
Oh, yeah.
The guy carrying the
With
world.
Atlas
the Atlas guy, yeah. So, I mean, we see these things all over the place, sort of reappropriated. So I'm just doing my own version of reappropriating it, but doing it in a science fiction fantasy way.
that's cool.
Yeah.
So what gave you the idea to do it? Like, I mean, that's the thing. Is I'm not
I'm Mexican.
Artistic.
I grew up with it.
but like to take that and to take science fiction
It's me. I mean, science fiction fantasy is what I do. It's what I eat. It's what I breathe. It's what I do for a living. It's what I loved since I had memories. So it's kind of a natural thing. It's almost like it was an inevitable thing that it was going to get to this point. That loteria that I grew up with, where it was sort of a thing I did with my mother and my grandmother. To answer maybe a little more specifically, I mean, what I do for a living is doing these book covers for all these science fiction fantasy publishers, most of them out of New York. And so got to a certain point where I realized, I've got certain things I want to do that are not commissioned work, where I want to do sort of quote unquote my own personal work. And so I created a company called Lone Boy, and this is sort of the first venture from Lone Boys, creating my own loteria.
Right.
So that's kind of the shorthand version or shorthand answer for what you're asking, I think, is what gave you the idea. It was more a thing of, well, this has been around for a long time, but it's just now I've gotten to a point in my career where I've got a certain audience, and I think I can sort of carry them along towards doing these personal things as opposed to sort of the bigger covers that I've been doing for all the publishers.
That's
Does that
cool.
make sense?
Yeah, definitely. How did you find him?
Actually, he found me.
Did I?
Yes, you did.
What did I do?
Some years ago.
What did I do?
You, I think it was when you and I guess maybe Paul and Sanford were launching the Mission Unknown blog.
Give Paul the credit then, probably.
Okay, but I think it was you who reached out to me because I've written a lot of stuff about sci-fi, and I don't know, you were just like, hey, I'm John, you sent me an email. So that was kind of how I came
So he's talking about a website that I helped to co-found. It was like a three-headed monster of myself, Sanford Allen. Sanford Allen is a horror author, but also was the lead guitarist and singer for a band called Boxcar Satan, if you guys know.
Sure.
Legendary San Antonio band.
Yeah,
He's now created a band called Hog Bitch, where he is now...
Yes, I've heard of Hog Bitch.
Hog Bitch, yes. So that's his new venture. So Sanford is part of Missions Unknown, and then Paul Vaughn, and a guy named Scott Cupp. I have sort of recently stepped away from it because I just don't have enough time to handle it all. Paul and Sanford and Scott are really the three guys that really run that thing. And I think at the beginning I was sort of stirring the pot, trying to pull in some influences. And that might be where you and I
probably so. And I was probably...
It was basically a thing to sort of...
I've written for the blog just a couple times, a couple small things. Paul reached out. He was doing like group pieces, and I made some contributions, but...
Right. We should keep doing it.
Yeah. Sure, yeah.
But it was basically a thing to sort of...
Man, there's a $20 bill in the...
It's like a tip jar.
That's the swear jar?
That's the swear jar.
Oh, yeah, you're allowed to swear, and it goes to charity. I don't know if we've allocated a charity.
I just saw that 20 in there. I was like, whoa!
That
must have been a really strong string of expletives that somebody unleashed on this show.
What's that? Was it yesterday?
Yeah, the hell of an episode yesterday.
Oh, because we're talking about Elisa Chan.
Oh, God.
Oh, God, don't go there.
Yeah.
And I said I wouldn't say her name again, but we're talking about...
Well, I would like to talk a little bit about one of the main reasons I got John here, which is what's happening here in San Antonio next week.
Sweet.
Which is...
Lone Star Con 3.
Lone Star
I have to
Con
call those
3.
people back. Yeah.
Which is the 71st Annual World Science Fiction Convention.
Yep.
And this is big.
It's huge!
And nobody is talking about the fact that WorldCon is going to be in San Antonio next week for 5 days.
It's a big deal.
And if you've ever heard of, I think if you know your science fiction at all, you've heard of the Hugo Award-winning fill in the blank.
Yeah.
Well, we have a Hugo Award winner sitting right here
God.
with us, and a nominee for this year's...
So that's the big phallic thing sitting there.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah,
the
the
Hugo
Hugo.
right here.
The Hugo.
Is this your only Hugo that you've won?
So just a quick yes. The answer is yes.
Okay. How many times have you been nominated?
And that's the funny one. So or not so funny if you're me. So
But you're not the Susan Lucci of the Hugo. So I mean,
No.
that's...
God, and because
you
it's sitting
have
here,
one.
we know I'm not. But
Right.
up until that point, I was working my way real close.
Really?
So up to that point, what was it? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So I had been nominated. I lost 7 straight.
Wow.
And then last year in Chicago, I win for the first time.
Oh, wow.
This year, I'm nominated again, so we'll see what happens. But whatever happens this year,
So
I don't go down
7
as
times.
8, 9, 10 times.
7, 8,
loser.
all
Yeah.
those times. How do you start to feel after a while? What is that? Does
Do you
that get
write
to
an
you at all?
acceptance speech?
The truth about it, no, I never write acceptance speech. You don't jinx yourself that way.
Right.
Just go up there and make it up because, God forbid, write that thing. You just jinx it automatically. I would say this. I've always believed that like in the artist category especially, it's part of paying your dues. You literally have to lose a few of these things before
Right.
you can finally break through.
But is there a point when a few turns into, like, wait a minute, this is getting ridiculous?
Well, part of
This
it is
too
you're
many.
talking to one of the most hyper-competitive people on the entire planet. So it's brutal for me to lose anything,
Oh,
and then to
man.
lose 7 in a row.
Oh,
Yeah, you just
wow.
want to go swing from a shower rod, quite frankly.
Are you friends with the winners?
I mean, shower rods.
With those
like,
other,
yeah.
Oh
you're
yeah,
all
it's a
like
pretty
Not that I tried.
close
tight group of
knit
people,
community,
yeah.
and you know it's voted on by the members of the convention and you know sort of your fellow peers and all that. I mean, just to be nominated, it's a huge deal.
Right. I was going to say, that's kind of a glass half empty way of looking at it.
They always say that.
It's like, well, I mean,
Well,
you've
it
been
is,
nominated so many times. That's
I'm not denying
badass.
that losing completely blows. All right.
That's what I wanted to hear.
Yeah,
That's what I
come
was
on,
getting
You're
at.
not going to get that from me. I can't stand losing. But
right.
to be nominated,
Right.
you can't lose sight that it's a big deal.
So let me ask you this, John.
Yeah, go ahead.
What does it mean to you to have WorldCon in San
your-
Antonio
yeah, your
this year?
hometown.
Yeah. Were you instrumental in getting it here at all?
No.
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 Well, how do you feel about, you don't have to go somewhere this year?
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
I love that. I mean, I've been doing this thing. golly, since 2002, going around to all the various cities. It's sort of part of my professional routine is going, and it's part of where you're meeting agents, editors, publishers, authors, fellow artists, and sort of improving your craft, networking. So it's kind of part of the scene, and so I sort of just make it part of my habit. I knew it was trying to get over here as of a few years ago, and so obviously I was rooting for that.
Right.
In some ways, Missions Unknown was created to sort of nudge that forward a little bit. That was sort of an impetus, was to sort of help to sort of build a bit of a groundswell, almost more from the local community, which I don't know if we really did much of that, quite frankly, in the end. But the fact is, it made it here.
Why do you think that's the case?
What's that?
What's that?
Well, I was just going to say, it's interesting to me because for years I love going to conventions, to sci-fi conventions. I think most people know this about me. I'm a Doctor Who fanatic. Yeah. And I've been going to Doctor Who conventions. I think my first one was in St. Louis when I was 15. So I'm a big freak for going to cons. And I always thought, I intend to. Yeah. But I always thought, for years, I was like, how come San Antonio doesn't have more of this? And now, not just Worldcon, but we've got San Japan, and there's like Alamo City Comic Con is starting this year.
Right.
The convention scene is kind of exploding in this town. I mean, I cannot think of a better town to want to come from New York or Chicago or London and spend the weekend in downtown San Antonio, going to a convention, going out to the Riverwalk at night. This is a great city for this kind of thing.
So what you got two forces coming together. You've got sort of a coalition of very experienced SFF con runners, and the kind of cons they tend to run are more of a literary bent, as opposed to sort of the costumes, get Chewbacca's autograph kind of.
Right, but that's not really what Worldcon is.
More of a literary thing. Yeah, it's a little more of a literary deal.
Right.
But it does cross over to where you do start to see some people who work in TV and film, swimming in these waters.
Right.
But it still kind of tends to be more of a literary thing. So you have sort of a set that are based out of Austin called Fandom Association of Central Texas, I think is what it is, FACT. You've got an outfit out of Dallas, Fort Worth area that runs something called FenCon. There's an outfit out of Houston called, they run something called ApolloCon. So a bunch of these organizers got together and wanted to put a bid together for Texas, and so the other force that came together was the fact that we're awesome as a tourism city.
Right.
We have this amazing downtown.
Yeah.
So they basically, amongst themselves, decided, and I'm sure there's plenty of politics involved here, but they decided that they wanted to make San Antonio the site for this. So you have a bunch of people from all around Texas who know how to put on cons, who decided we want to do it in this city because it rocks. We're putting on a convention.
So with the different sects of SSF, the literary sect, and you have your Comic-Con sect, and all these different things that don't gel well. Not that they don't gel well, but they don't exactly mingle.
They have schisms. Sure. Yeah, you're not wrong.
What?
You're not wrong. You're
Okay.
not wrong. Yeah, they'd have schisms for
sure. Do you think it would be beneficial for them to all come under one umbrella just for the time being, work together, and then break off?
Well, that's kind of what a thing like Worldcon ideally can do. It is sort of potentially something that can be sort of a larger umbrella that embraces all worlds. But what I always say with any convention, regardless of what business you're in, whoever's running the convention, that's what the convention will champion. Whatever their interests are, you just need look no further than what's in their bio and what do they like to do. Right. That's what the convention's going to end up being. No matter what political forces pull them, whatever they like, that's what it's going to be. So these people tend to be more of a literary bent. I tend to really love that stuff too. I mean, I'm a bit more of an omnivore. I think all pop culture is moving toward being more omnivoracious, whatever. I'm making up a word.
Oh yeah, you have that. Sure. I love it.
Chef Vandermeer, that was for you because I think that's an Amazon blog.
Omnivoracious.
Omnivoracious, yeah.
I don't know what the adjective would be of
anyway,
omnivore.
It's basically, I think Worldcon ideally can be omnivorous. Did we just make it up?
Well, I'm excited to experience this. I stumbled across the fact this was happening just a couple months ago. I was like, this is happening in San Antonio. I was just so excited.
You're going to see a lot of authors there. You're going to see
George R.R. Martin will be there, right?
See, like George R.R. Martin,
creator of Game of Thrones.
You watch Game of Thrones on HBO?
I do. Yes, I love Game of Thrones.
So he's the guy that wrote the Song of Ice and Fire books that the show is based on.
Which might be a good time to.
What's that?
To show some of your.
Oh yeah, we can show some of that.
Do it. Yeah.
Well, okay, I'll pull some of that in a second, but to just kind of finish the beat, you'll have people who are sort of up-and-coming authors, you'll have people who are sort of more mid-list veteran authors, and you'll have some superstars like George, or like the woman who wrote the books that True Blood is based on.
Charlene Harris.
Charlene Harris. There are some real luminaries that show up for this thing, and they're kind of regulars.
Right.
So they're part of the circuit. But as someone, I guess we're talking sort of the larger audience of this town. If you're not sort of a Worldcon veteran, you don't really go to these things. This is an amazing opportunity. It really is.
And it's worth mentioning that it's not too late to buy tickets.
Yeah.
You can still get in.
Where?
Well, the best place to go, and I believe I was looking at the site earlier today, and you can still buy tickets online through Sunday.
Okay.
And that, I believe, is www.lonestarcon3.org. And you can either buy... Now, it's not a cheap convention. It's not inexpensive. To go for all 5 days is right now, I believe, is $240.
240 pigs.
But you can buy... you can choose to go on certain days. Like if you wanted to go Sunday, which is the night of the Hugos, that's a $75 for the whole day. I know they're going to be having on Saturday, a big cosplay masquerade thing. See, cosplay is like, I would never do it myself, but I'm like kind of obsessed with watching it. They've even got a TV show now on Sci-Fi called Heroes of Cosplay, and I'm like, I mean, this is like Halloween on steroids and acid.
Yeah,
it's everything. Yeah. Like the lengths that these cosplayers are going to these days.
They put time into this.
It is crazy, and I can only imagine what kind of people are going to be showing up for Worldcon. Which is there a reason why it's Worldcon and Lone Star Con 3? Does that matter?
That's a whole show.
That's
right
a whole.
there.
Well, we won't worry.
I guess a couple sentences on
that.
that.
But I mean, I would expect the costumes to be.
I'm sorry.
Worldcon is the collective name of the convention, so every year there's a different Worldcon.
Matt, come in here.
My man.
Come on.
He's doing it.
And Lone Star Con 3, there was a first Worldcon in Texas, or it was technically...
In Austin, the very first one.
I saw that.
And then the second one was in San Antonio
in
1997. And that was Lone Star
He
Con
needs to come in
2.
here.
And so this is the next one in Texas, which is Lone Star Con 3.
I'm telling you,
And that voice of God is Matt Duarte, who is our resident badass. And like I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. He's the editor of the UTSA paper. He is very politically involved. He's smart as a whip, and
he knows where bodies are buried.
He probably does. He has like just a knowledge about so many things. And the thing that got me right off the bat, and I don't even know if I told him that, he's honest. Because I was like, that show felt weird. And he was like, no, yeah, it was bad. And that, like, it's so rare.
Are we doing okay in here?
Come in.
Oh, he shrugged his shoulders.
Come in. He never wants to come in. Come in.
He's got connections, but I'm not gonna speak of what those connections are. I know, but I'm just gonna let him bring it up if he wants to bring it up.
But yeah, just all around badass, Matt Duarte.
He is.
But
but he's right. He summed it up, and I don't know if everybody could hear that, but it's basically sort of a. Worldcon is the larger umbrella name, so whether it's in Helsinki, London, Chicago, San Jose, wherever it is, it's called the World Science Fiction Convention, or Worldcon for short. And then each city sort of puts a branding moniker on it, and some of these cities sort of have done it a few times, or states have done it a few times, so, it'll be Lone Star Con 1, Lone Star Con 2, and then the next one, if it gets it, it'll be Lone Star Con 3. Hella confusing if you're just sort of Joe Average watching Game of Thrones and Doctor Who and are just saying, what is all this?
Right.
Don't get caught up in that. It's just this huge umbrella. It's all inclusive. It's an amazing experience. What I always tell people who aren't really familiar with the scene is when something like this comes to your town, it's kind of like the Olympics, because it's not like it's never going to come back again. Some cities like Rome or
and there's
Mexico City or something get multiple Olympics over the course of a long span of time. San Antonio had one of these in '97.
In '97, which you had a story to tell.
There's a global draw. There's people from all over the world with this thing.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Worldcon. Totally. It's been going on since. Before World War II.
Yeah, it's definitely like a 60.
This has been going on for a long time.
I said 1950 something. Is that what I just read his mouth?
Yeah.
I think it's 37.
1937.
Get in here, Matt Duarte. So, yeah.
So, gosh, I just lost my train of thought.
Sorry.
Doesn't matter.
Well, let's see some of your. I want to.
Yeah.
So talking about George. So you were asking me in the green room about this. So. Pulling this stuff out, it's not so much to show it for my stuff, but to just let people know that is that.
Which camera do we want? Middle?
So you know what you're doing. I'll let you hold it up. So, the reason I'm bringing this is more just to let people know who aren't familiar with the con. There's a huge art show that's
very nice.
Hugo.
Oh, that looks cool.
It looks excellent.
Yeah, with the big.
Let me move the Hugo.
The Hugo in the way.
Get that sucker out of the way.
Yeah.
So there's a huge art show that's a part of this thing. There's a gigantic dealer's room. There are just a ton of panels and programming. But that art show is obviously near and dear to my heart because that's what I do for a living.
Right.
So the art show at Worldcon is always really diverse and eclectic. And so you'll have originals, you'll have prints. And like what you're looking at here is an example of some of the stuff I did for George R. Martin's Song of Ice and Fire project. So this was a calendar that was put out in 2012. And I did all of the artwork for it. This was commissioned by Random House, the big, mega publisher out of New York. And you had a question. You were
Well, my
wondering,
question
how does
is,
it relate back to the TV show?
Did you make this before or after the TV show?
So when I get the gig to do this calendar, that's right around when George signed the deal with HBO.
Okay.
So what he
Okay.
told me was, I want to see a John Picacio vision of my books.
All
This
right.
deal has been signed. They're going to start casting. And I just want you to know that I want you to do what comes out of your brain and not worry about any
So
of
it's
the...
pre-casting.
It's while the casting's going on, but he told me, don't look at Entertainment Weekly, don't look
Oh,
at any of
wow.
that stuff. You get to just do what
Oh,
you
I was looking
see.
at your website, and I
then-
thought that some of them were like
and then
Daenerys looks an awful lot
Well,
like.
then as this thing started unfolding, after I turned in my stuff, it was interesting how some of their casting decisions and some of my
Right.
art decisions actually really did overlap. But that I attribute that more to just the producers of that show and me. We very much both love that source material. It's
Right.
amazing source material.
Right.
And so if you love it and you're passionate about it and you're looking at those descriptions and getting the spirit of what George is looking for, you're going to have overlap. So
Now-
it's not like we're psychic entities.
What's the medium here? Is it all computer graphics, or is
No.
it drawn, or is it?
So, like for instance, what did I bring here? Like this will help more than just me talking. Usually, obviously, the picture speaks louder than a bunch of verbiage. So, like, I'll pull out something else just to kind of I'll lean
Oh,
that
cool.
against it. So here's like an example of a piece of final color work. But then what I'll show right here is like here's like the pencils for that. So this is
Oh, wow.
So there's an underdrawing that happens with all this stuff that's pretty comprehensive.
So let me put this one down.
Yeah, so there's an underdrawing that happens with each one of these works that's really comprehensive, and then I'll do these acrylic or oil abstract paintings and then digitally start overlaying those things on top of the grayscale pencil. So this gets scanned into a computer or photographed, and then I'll scan or photograph those abstract paintings and then start digitally overlaying them on top of the
Holy smoke.
grayscale. So it's basically like a digital sandwich. So all the ingredients of the sandwich are made out here in the real world, so like the pencils and the paint is all out here and done physically. But then I'm just using the Photoshop almost like a caveman. I'm using it like a compositor because I could care less about drawing or painting with a computer. I'm just not interested in that at all.
Right.
Wow.
But I like
Good,
the
good for you.
surprises
Yeah.
that come with sort of overlaying things. Anyway, so that's how that was
So
done as well. That's why I pulled it out because that
Such a cool
explains.
hybrid.
So George actually owns the original drawing for that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
See, and I think culturally, anyhow, just the demographic here would lend itself more to a sci-fi fantasy genre, just because you think of magical realism, you think of everything that entails. It's a really
Borges, Marquez, all that stuff.
Right.
But that's coming more from the high end of the literary.
But even not literary, Catholicism, for instance, and you think of even telenovelas have that element of magical realism to it, where you kind of teeter-totter back and forth into things that are completely unfathomably, intangibly in front of you.
Yeah.
So, and I think that that. And even with comics and wrestling, and there's a big wrestling thing here, a group here following, and so I think all of those things kind of blend together and really lead to that kind
It's
of
one of those things. I mean, you're
genre.
like you're so hot.
Maybe.
You're about to go lava because these things are all there. All the ingredients are here for this town to
Right.
really be a huge flash pot for genre fan. I mean, it's happening. There's a huge Doctor Who group here.
Yeah, there is.
Doctor
Who
you
fans
can
unite.
see all those ingredients. I mean, you just positioned a bunch of them right now, and that's why I think Worldcon is really important for this town at this moment because you just diagrammed it perfectly. I mean, there's a lot of elements here that if something like this comes in and unites all those things, there's a lasting effect, just like with an Olympics, where it can change the dynamics of a city. Now, I'm not going to sit there and say that WorldCon's going to change the dynamics of this whole town, but in terms of the geek community, it's got a shot.
I hope people show up.
It's got a shot, and so, first they got to come through the doors and experience something like this, and then carry that spark home with them, and then that's where fan groups, explode, and that's where internet forums, that are locally based that celebrate stuff that's happening here, and creative forces start to get inspired and say, you know what, if he can do it, I can do it.
See, my cousin Kristen's really into SFF, and it's something that I've never really gotten into. I don't, not literarily anyhow. I watch the shows, but I don't read a lot of the books.
So neither do I. To be honest with you, I'm not a big reader.
I'm a huge reader, but I only read nonfiction.
So do I.
Ah, cool.
I love to read biographies.
Yes, I love biographies.
It doesn't matter what end of it you come from, as far as I'm concerned. I think that is one of the beautiful things about this. There are some things like Comic-Con or other more sort of special. Comic-Con is a large umbrella, but even though it's called Comic-Con, what is it really? It's a movie con.
It is. It's gotten to the point where
it's very commercial.
It's actually Comic-Con has gotten to the point. I've never been, I have to say,
I went,
but it has gotten to the point where now it's just an excuse for every network to trot out their latest wares. There's stuff that has nothing to do with comics and fantasy and
it's
sci-fi.
It's grown into sort of a new...
there's a New Girl panel, stuff like that. I don't know.
If I see one more Slave Leia, I'm going to punch somebody.
Oh, come on. That's the...
everybody has the costume. We all know we have the costume.
It would be awesome if you cosplayed that Dark Crystal character.
Oh my God, Jen from Dark Crystal.
You would be so perfect.
I am Jen. I'm a Galfkin. Yeah. It's crazy.
And the rating spike. So I would say that, a show like this, it does sort of have more of a literary bent, but I think just the nature of fandom has made this thing become something that does embrace graphic novels more, that does embrace film and TV more, and it does have the chance to be sort of a larger umbrella, whereas the more media driven, and I'm not bagging on San Diego Comic-Con, I love that thing, but you've got to have a certain angle coming into that thing or else you're going to get lost in it. And I think because we were talking about how it's pricey to come into this WorldCon relative to what most people want to spend for a convention.
Sure.
What you get for that and is sort of like that high ticket price in a way is sort of a gatekeeper that allows you to have a more intimate experience with a Charlaine Harris or a George R. Martin or any particular hero or creator that you're wanting to see there, because there's only going to be, I'm just going to take a shot at it, I think at the end of the day it'll be somewhere between maybe 4,000 to 6,000 people that roll through these turnstiles. I mean, maybe they're expecting more, I don't know, but I think it's going to somewhere fall in there. That's pretty intimate.
That is intimate.
I mean, you compare that to like 150,000 people rolling through the turnstiles at a San Diego Comic-Con. So what does that do for you as somebody who walks off the street? Well, you have a chance at, not just, being pushed through a line and getting a scribbled autograph and then just being pushed away. You actually might get to, have a drink with somebody that you really respect and admire. And that's, when you think about that kind of experience, all of a sudden $240 doesn't seem so bad. And of course, there are day admissions. Which
I believe for the big 3 days for Friday, Saturday, Sunday are $75 a day. So that's Monday's like $30. I don't know what Thursday is off the top of my head.
I don't know this.
Anyway, it is manageable if you just want to go for a day. You can do that.
And I would say anybody who's trying to work in this business, this thing is just mandatory. I mean, back in the day, I kind of had. That's what happened with the '97 WorldCon in San Antonio. I kind of had to be talked into going because I was a total just starting out. I was still working a day job in architecture and not even. I was just trying to build a career in this, and I had to kind of be told, hey, you need to be there. And, I boned out the money, and I literally went and did an autographing because it was with an author named Michael Moorcock, who's still one of my best friends in this field, and I love him, and I love his stuff.
He's kind of a god.
He's a god, totally a god. And so one of my first covers was for one of his books, and he was doing a signing, so I went to go sign with him, and I literally took him and a bunch of Brits out for Mexican food, and I just went home.
How cool.
And I went home because I had no idea what a WorldCon was. So if I have any purpose in being here this morning, it's more to let people know that there is a whole experience that's a part of that thing, and you may come in from whatever facet you're interested in or whatever facet you're interested in, and you'll see it and you'll find it, but definitely take the time to go out there and see the things that you're not familiar with, because you will take home a whole new set of interests and influences that you didn't have before. It's almost guaranteed. You will. I always say it's not what happens at 1 p.m. It's what happens at 1 a.m. It's the stuff that you can't even expect going in that completely ends up being the stuff that you fall in love with.
Well, what is the cost for the vendors, is it kind of on a sliding scale close to what it is for the clients or the people coming in?
There's artists, and really, I think the thing with Worldcon, and hey man, you correct me on this if I'm wrong about it.
Oh, you know what? Let's take a quick break and go into this.
Yeah, we can do
because
that.
Matt's going to come in after we
All
take
right.
a break. So we're going to see something from, and this is my boy, my home chicken, Richard Doinoff, and Cassandra Lazenby, who's gorgeous as the day is long, and they're talking about Manrique Custom Visions, lasers into your eyeballs, which just freaks me out a little bit. But Chris Jewell's done it. My mom's going to do it. Nico LaHood's going to do it on September 12th in front of God and everybody, because Manrique is expanding. They're going across the hall from where they are now and taking over that portion of the office space as well. So it's a beautiful facility over at La Cantera, and be sure to check it out, especially September 12th, and they have a big celebration there. Yay. All right, come on, Matt Duarte.
Vanessa.
I'm here with Richard Doinoff from Manrique Custom Vision. Richard, tell me, why is LASIK so important?
Well, LASIK's important for a couple reasons. The main reason is a lot of people don't know that contacts can actually do more damage to your eye than LASIK ever has. The contacts, of course, are setting on the surface of your eye. They can actually make indentations on your cornea surface. If you're fortunate enough to be in torics or the hard contacts, those, of course, the toric are for astigmatism. They have a weight on them. They go around your astigmatism, they grip real hard. Sometimes it actually causes dry eye. The hard contacts mash down the surface of the eye to make you be able to see properly, because your astigmatism is so irregular on the surface of your eye. But at any rate, it does leave indentations on the front of your eye. Some of them can be so damaging that it will cause you not to ever be able to do LASIK or any other procedure. So Dr. Manrique can do your LASIK procedure totally blade-free. We do correct the surface of the eye so you can see just as good or better as you do out of your glasses and contacts. So if you've been thinking about the LASIK procedure, give us a call now in the beautiful shops of La Cantera.
On TV unless he, or I'm not saying this on recorded stuff unless he
It's
wants
on.
to hear it.
We're back.
Oh, we are? Oh, well, I guess we're not. It's up to him. It's up to him.
All right, so we're back, and this is Matt. Oh, I'm always talking about Matt Duarte and what a badass he is, and how, just his wealth of knowledge is just so impressive. And today's his last day with us, so
Sorry, folks.
how fitting.
I've
It's
got to
like,
go back to school.
Hey, Matt. Bye, Matt. So he's taken off, but he was commenting on Worldcon and on Lone Star Con 3, so really had to get him in here because you know so much more about this than I do, and I'm just, getting my feet wet. But
Well, like
Have
I
that,
said, like I didn't say, I was talking to them behind the scenes earlier. My parents were both really involved. My mom actually ran Lone Star Con 2, which was here in San Antonio in 1997.
I
Cool.
told you he was connected.
nice.
So I've pretty much grown up working on these things, being a fly on the wall in all these meetings.
You're like
and
the Michael Corleone of Lone Star Con.
I met this cat like back when he was about this big.
Yeah?
Seriously.
I
it's
won't
amazing.
claim that I had a big role in bringing this one to San Antonio or helping out,
His parents did.
but yes, my parents, and there's a whole team of people
Yeah.
whose names I could list on and on and on, who were incredibly instrumental in bringing this to San
It's really
Antonio.
important to know that these are all volunteers. This is straight up people who have day jobs, who have lives that this is just sort of part of the hobby side of their life, and they've committed in a very, very deep way, and they
It's
commit
actually
year after year.
A really good point to bring up,
Yeah.
because this convention is huge year after year. We're expecting, I'd say, somewhere 4,000 to 5,000 people here in
Yeah.
San Antonio next weekend. And I know that Worldcon consistently is one of the largest conventions that's put on entirely by volunteers.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what's the draw though? Like, why are people so passionate about it? Why do people dedicate so much time, especially if it's on a volunteer basis, to Lone Star Con and to Worldcon and to this genre?
Well, I would say, John was talking about this earlier, how there's a really well-connected community. It really feels like a family. And, people who run these, yes, they put a lot of work and effort into it, but at the end of everything, when the convention's being run, you get to go travel, and it's more like a vacation than work, because you get to see all your old friends. You get to see these people you haven't seen in months or even in years. And the community is really, really well-connected, and
I think it's really important to say too that I think everybody, usually with these conventions there's sort of a divide between fan and pro, and I think there's still some of that at a Worldcon, but every pro that walks into those doors and is up there on those stages doing panels or in the art show or whatever, they're all fans. They started off as fans, and they don't try to hide that they still are. You know, we all still sort of are part of that food chain. And I think you really feel that at Worldcon, whereas at a larger, more media-driven convention, it's sort of like there's them and there's us. And that is so not a part of the ethos of a Worldcon. It's sort of all for one for all. Again, a very different vibe than most conventions. So when you're asking why do they keep coming back, that sort of merging of the tribes is really a big part of the spirit of it. Again, you almost have to be there to sort of feel that. But, you know, literally, like, that's why I was saying, you can go into a party at 1 a.m. and you're hanging out there with George R. R. Martin, whereas there's no velvet rope like there would be at some other convention.
And that's why I was asking about the maybe cost of admission, or if there is one even now. That I know it's more volunteer based for the people who are there as exhibitors or as, you know, displaying their talents.
We all pay.
Yeah,
we're all paying. Yeah,
because
the only people who are free are the guests of honor.
Oh,
but
neat.
Everybody else, every other pro, every other dealer, we all have to pay to get in.
So is it how does that compare to something like a Comic-Con, Austin? Because you see, and the reason I'm asking is, you know, at like Comic-Con, especially like the one in Austin, where it's just a little bit different. There are vendors there that don't exactly hit the genre, and it's like, oh, I have these stuffed animals that are correlating to different STDs, and I have these belt buckles, and ho ho ho.
They're gravy training.
Right. And so it's kind of like I don't know, not a farmer's market even, because it has less integrity than that for them to be there. It just doesn't, it's not congruent with the views at all. Yeah. So I would assume that you're not going to see any of that here.
You know, it's not like you're going to walk into a dealer's room and it's going to be all books. You know, there's going to be costume stuff and leather stuff and, you know,
they've got jewelry vendors
and all that.
But like themed stuff, like corset leather, leather corsets and stuff. Like I can see that.
It's
but
still
if it's
going to
like
hold to the science fiction fantasy
leather
genre
chaps
stuff.
and saddles, maybe not so much, right?
No,
okay.
No. You know, you probably know this better than me.
Chaps.
I think there is sort of it's not like just anybody can sign up. I don't think anybody can just sign up and just be a dealer at this thing. Not just anybody can sign up and be a...
Well, like I said, there is an element of community to these. And if you're a vendor who's been coming to these for years and years, and say I'm just going to go with the default and say you're selling books, and someone who's maybe a big box chain, like I don't even know if Barnes & Noble will even try, but we definitely give priority to the people who've been coming out. Yeah. And, you know, it's not like we're just going to fill up an entire vendors fair, an entire dealer's room with just booksellers. There is a lot of planning that goes into who sells what and how many of each, you know, book vendor we have.
It's a nice balance.
It really is.
Yeah.
So, Matt, have you been to other Worldcons besides the 97 one here?
I actually wasn't at the 97 one.
Oh, okay.
I mentioned that my mom was in charge of that one, so they left me at home so she could do her job and not worry about being a mom.
Right.
I have been to one or two. Okay. There was one in Baltimore, I want to say, back in the late 90s, maybe 96.
That's before me.
Yeah. This is when they were still trying to campaign and...
Yeah, to get it for San Antonio.
Right.
Probably.
Well,
the first time.
Yeah, so like 02 it's San Jose, 03 it's Toronto, and I didn't do that one because I think the SARS outbreak was happening back then. I just kind of skipped that
flashback.
one. 04 is Boston, 05
cool
was Glasgow,
Rocket.
06 Anaheim. 07 it was Japan, like Yokohama. I was there for that. Anyway, I'm not going to just spit all these things up, but I mean, it really, literally is a world deal. It goes, you know, next year it'll be in London. The year after that, and the voting will happen at this convention.
Correct.
Of whether it'll be in 2015, it'll be either in Spokane, Washington, Orlando, Florida, or Helsinki, Finland.
Wow.
And
So I mean, it's like rain.
Go for it.
One of well, we were talking earlier. A guy that I admire a great deal, Paul Cornell.
Oh, Paul's awesome.
Is going to be
He's a Toastmaster.
What is that? The Toastmaster? What does that mean?
It's kind of like the MC or Master of Ceremony.
Cool.
So
he wrote, for people who don't know, Paul Cornell wrote what for me is my favorite modern Doctor Who story, which was Human Nature, which is where the Doctor became human for 2 episodes. And he also wrote in the very first season of the new Doctor Who, the episode where Rose met her father, who had died, and went back in time and met her father for the first time. So Paul Cornell, he will be here, and obviously an incredibly talented man. I'm excited to make. You said you might introduce me to him. That would be
absolutely.
awesome.
I mean, absolutely.
No,
he's awesome. I mean, so like, if you're a Doctor Who fan, I mean, just that guy alone. There's going to be, there's something there for everybody, literally, at this convention. There really is. No matter what fandom you come from.
Really cool.
Yeah.
So wait, and on the political side, I'm gonna get boring for 2 seconds.
You can get political.
When you're, and not really political, but just more Visitors Bureau-ish.
Oh, okay.
Because you know how I am about that. When you're putting this together, and everybody's coming together and talking, it's okay. It's in San Antonio. One, what was the initial pitch? Where are you going to take these people? What draws are in there, like visitors packages? Where's everybody going to go?
I don't know this stuff at all.
Well, originally we weren't even looking specifically at San Antonio. This was years ago, but it was just a group of Texas fans. John was saying earlier how there's a group in Austin, there's a group in Houston, there's people in the DFW area.
Yeah.
All these people wanted to come together and bring a convention to Texas. And it was at least a year where we were narrowing down which city. And it finally came down to either San Antonio or Fort Worth.
Interesting.
And we came to San Antonio, I think, because, like we said, the Riverwalk is a huge draw.
Mm-hmm.
San Antonio's got these great hotels. We're going to be using the Marriott River Center, the Convention Center.
And the Marriott Riverwalk.
Yeah, and I don't know if we're using space at the Grand Hyatt or not. But
That'd be cool.
I don't think so.
San Antonio really is the best cultural city in Texas to bring tourists to bring visitors to. You've got the Alamo here. If people want to take their families to Six Flags, they can do that as well.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, the tourism angle is huge, and that's, he hit this earlier, that people who come to these things, in a way, it's sort of like not only a family reunion, but it's like sort of a resort vacation
Sure.
thing. So
And what better place than downtown
I
San
just posted
Antonio?
something last night about I went and hit that Norman Rockwell exhibit at the McNay, and there are already all these, I've gotten comments and emails on Facebook and on Twitter from people who are coming to Worldcon saying, I got to go hit that.
Oh.
So I mean, there's a lot of virtues we have here, and people will not just do the Worldcon, but they'll be hitting various other stuff both around the Riverwalk and outside of it.
Right.
And that's kind of what they do no matter what city they go to.
Right.
I do that. I mean,
Right.
I just
Yeah.
take a day or two before. Like, if this thing lands in Helsinki, I'm not just going for the convention for
Right.
God's sake.
Right, and that's
what people
why
do.
I was kind of asking.
Yeah.
I love the Riverwalk. I do, and especially with the new additions
Pearl
that
Brewery.
the River Authority is really making some amazing progress to the river right now, especially like around Blue Star and over south to the Mission Trail. And I mean, it's great things happening with the river. The Riverwalk itself isn't necessarily my favorite place in San Antonio.
Me neither.
So I
No, but for somebody who's coming here
Yeah.
cold, it's a great, beautiful thing. I mean,
That's
God,
true.
you go to downtown Dallas or downtown Houston, it's
Oh,
a
yeah,
whole,
yeah.
I think as
this is a great, we
as
have
an
a great city, a
as
great
an
We have
aesthetic,
a
as an
beautiful-
aesthetic
yeah.
experience, I love it. As a place to go eat, there
Right.
are other places I might pick, and so
but there are some great restaurants popping up on the Riverwalk.
there are.
Yeah.
There are. There's that Luke.
Luke is fantastic.
Yeah, Luke is awesome.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we still have Biga.
Some,
Yeah, there are a number of them, but I don't think you can just throw a rock and hit
I
a
like-
a
I like-
really great one.
Boudreaux's.
Yeah.
Boudreaux's is
Yeah,
great too.
Boudreaux's is good.
Boudreaux's is great. Yeah.
But there. If you see people from out of town, and maybe they're dressed a little bit differently than you, show them good restaurants.
just
Take
roll
them
with
to
it.
Guillermo's, dude.
Yeah.
Hang out at
Just roll
Guillermo's
with
and like have some food there. Their food is amazing, and take them to like the little holes in the wall that hey, maybe they may not go to. You want bordering food? Go to Marginal. Like
you and I
take
growing
them
up
off
here,
the beaten path.
Meat Theater is kind
Theater,
of like,
yeah, well,
we're just kind of like, yeah, it's Meat Theater. But there's
only
somebody
if
who's never been
Mexican
to this
Elvis
town
is there.
to walk in there. It's like Fiesta, for God's sake.
Yeah, and
So-
I mean it's always open and it's
I
all
went
lit up in
the
Christmas.
first time I went to a place the other day called Pico de Gallo.
Oh yeah.
The guy,
Yes.
it's owned by the.
It is owned by the
it's
same people,
same
but they've got
Is
this
it-
crazy
I thought it was-
design on the ceiling.
Am I
the
wrong on that?
silver everywhere.
I have
It's-
no idea.
It's really pretty on the inside, but the food is almost identical.
I know,
to
yeah,
Meat Theater.
Yeah, because I
It
think it is
probably-
owned by
It
the
is
same
owned by the
It
same
must
people. I was
be
looking at
then.
because when I walked in, they've got the mural and everything. I was
I think
like,
La
is this-
Margarita,
La
Pico de
Margarita is
Gallo,
too.
and Meat Theater are all owned by
Yeah.
the same.
Okay, I see. I didn't know Pico de Gallo was part of that.
It is.
And I love La Fagata.
La Fagata is awesome.
It's a beautiful place, but
you
the
gotta-
food, I think in the past 10 years hasn't really been on point.
Yeah.
Beautiful place, great margaritas.
I'm almost afraid to say all my favorites because all of a sudden they're going to get too packed.
But I mean, I think if you see
I'll
somebody
throw one
from
out.
out of town,
I'll throw one out. If you're from Boston, if you're from New York, if you're from Seattle, if you're from LA, and you think you've got the best Mexican food wherever you are,
Oh, come
go
on,
to
yeah.
like Taco Haven.
there you go, Taco Haven.
Taco Haven.
Done and done.
In Southtown.
Yes.
And I hate saying that because that's one of my favorites, and I'll probably try to go there now. It'll be packed. But Taco Haven
Oh, yeah.
rocks. And
It's
if you want
the
to see what
best.
San Antonio has that you don't have, that's it, right? I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
it's amazing.
easy.
Third world economy prices
Right. Oh,
for
that's-
just
those are the best,
amazing
right.
volumes of food that is incredible. It's
It's
family
so good,
run.
and it's like loved.
It's awesome. Yeah.
There's a
It's
bar.
love on a plate.
There's a bar, and
Anyway.
that's what makes it. Yeah,
There we
because
go.
I mean, if you're coming from different parts of the world and you're coming from even different parts of the country, it's weird for people not to have access to booze to only have access to beer and wine. I hear this a lot. It's weird.
God, yeah.
Yeah. So when you have a restaurant that doesn't have a full bar, they're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of the Pearl Brewery is still trying to get liquor licenses,
Yeah.
I've found. Yeah.
Interesting.
They're still
Great
doing
restaurants
good.
there too.
Great restaurants.
And then even in Southtown, you
I need
have
my single-
Feast,
I need my single malts.
Bliss, Luxury.
Bliss is awesome. Yeah.
Luxury
It's
is
a
good.
one.
There are so many. So take them off the beaten path, please. We see them out there.
How are we doing on time?
We have like 6 minutes left.
6 minutes? Can I pimp a couple things?
Do
real
it.
quick?
Go ahead.
Pimp it. Get
well,
your cane
first,
in your hat.
yeah,
because you
exactly.
redeemed yourself. Because last time you brought us the Human Centipede, now you're bringing us Lone Star Com 3.
Yes.
So yeah, you've
Well,
redeemed yourself.
One thing that I want to mention, I haven't seen it yet, but since we're doing a whole sci-fi show here, basically, I haven't gotten to see it yet, but I'm assuming that The World's End opens this weekend. I think that's probably a
think
movie
so,
that
yeah.
everybody needs to go check out.
Okay.
Because the reviews have been kind of off the hook, and if you liked
Edgar
Shaun
Wright.
of the
Edgar
Wright,
Wright.
Shaun of the Dead, and Hot Fuzz, I think it's going to be really, really good. But two other things. This is not sci-fi at all. This Glenn Campbell, see you there. I've been listening to the crap out of this. This is so awesome. It's
Okay, and he's also here talking about Neil Diamond. So I just want to
Okay, I'm just like, wow, this
I
came
know.
out of nowhere.
No, I know, right? Well, this is my new favorite record. I'm listening to the crap out of it. Glenn Campbell doing a bunch of his old stuff. You know, he has Alzheimer's now. This is such an awesome CD.
When I think Glenn Campbell, I think Hee Haw.
No,
Yeah.
I know, but this guy, I love Glenn Campbell.
Okay.
Moving back to
I'm gonna
sci-fi
let
here.
that ride.
Moving back to
I'm gonna
sci-fi
let that
here.
ride.
This came out from Criterion last week. It's called Seconds, and it stars Rock Hudson. This movie is like the trippiest, most awesome feature-length version of The Twilight Zone that you've ever seen in your life. This was made in 1966.
I was going to say, Rock Hudson
And
is
it's about a man who's basically a walking corpse, who meets this organization that will, for a fee, will give him a whole new life, and he's allowed to start over, and with a new face, and this will rock your world. I am so obsessed with this film. I have been for years, and now Criterion's done it. It's on Blu-ray and it's on DVD. If you want to buy it, Barnes & Noble is a great place. Of course, Amazon also. Seconds is the name of the film.
I had not heard of that.
It's not. People don't really know about this movie. It's directed by John Frankenheimer, who did The Manchurian Candidate.
No kidding.
Yeah, and
That's cool.
And this is it will fuck your mind. I'm sorry, it really will.
No, it's here.
That has more of a
You're
shot
at
at making
home,
it to
Ross.
my house than Glenn Campbell.
I know. I knew that the Glenn Campbell wasn't for you,
that
but
might not work for
Seconds
me.
is. I'm
That's
telling
cool.
you, Seconds is awesome.
That's
And this is like back when sci-fi wasn't necessarily about monsters and spaceships. This is a science fiction movie, but it's like I said. It's if you enjoy the Twilight Zone, this is better than the best episode of the Twilight Zone you've ever seen.
Wow.
The Twilight Zone
Yeah.
used to scare the
That's a hell of a
pants
sell.
off
So
of me.
Seconds,
That's a hell of a
yes,
sell.
Seconds.
Cool.
I
Seconds
wanted to
and
hit
Glenn
that.
Campbell. And then
Glenn
just because
Campbell.
you mentioned Glenn Campbell having Alzheimer's, I have this jersey.
Oh, awesome.
Here we go.
Awesome segue.
The Missions, San Antonio Missions, are playoff bound, by the way. And on Saturday, which is tomorrow, there's an Alzheimer's awareness night, and all of the proceeds, we're all auctioning off our jerseys, and this one's mine. Mine's number 17 because my grandfather died of complications from Alzheimer's, and his birthday was May 17th.
Oh, wow.
So I did it in honor of him. Mine's a youth medium, so it's one of the smaller ones up for grabs there. But there's going to be a silent auction, and all of the money goes to the Alzheimer's Association, and it's Saturday night at the Wolf. So there are fireworks there. So baseball, fireworks, silent auction, and it's a date night out for a good cause. There you go.
Awesome.
I'm done with that.
Good time.
Anybody else have anything to pimp?
She does this professionally, you
No.
can tell. As far as pimping, I think we've pimped this thing.
We have.
Well,
What about?
but
Hey,
I mean, go ahead.
So, but,
can you bring up that
yeah,
picture of the
bring your
hound?
art, dude.
Oh, you want to see more?
And
art?
so Lone Star Con 3
Go ahead.
is from August 29th through September 2nd. As Ross said, you go to, it's www.lonestarcon3.org.
Yes.
And you can buy your tickets
Through Sunday.
Through Sunday.
If you don't buy them
online.
online through Sunday, then you have to buy them at the door.
Oh.
And then who knows how long the lines will be. I don't
Right,
know.
and San Antonio is traditionally a walk-up town,
tell you what,
so we're kind of last minute
I
about
know what
things.
it is.
You
It's
want to
under
get
there.
them in advance.
It's under
Because-
Ned.
Under,
Oh.
It's under Ned.
under the swear jar too. Oh, sorry, Blackest Tim Duncan ever.
That's it.
Yeah,
That's
that
the one you wanted to say?
Yeah, that's
Ooh.
pretty awesome.
So just to kind of just to finish off what we were talking about earlier. So when these were being done,
Sansa and the Hound.
I wasn't privy to what the actors or what the production was going to be like
Right.
for HBO. So it was interesting to see when they did the makeup for him. I was like, maybe I thought it was going to be a little more radical.
I think
he's still awesome.
He is, but I think
McCann
what
has just
you
nailed
got
it.
going on here.
And by the way,
truly,
the cat that plays the Hound in the show, Rory McCann, he will actually be.
he's going to be here. He's
So
going
it's
to be
like,
at Lone Star.
This is what I'm talking
Cafe.
about. Where yes, it is sort of a, it's the book geeks, people I love, art geeks, but the TV film world is going to have little inroads into this thing, and so
Awesome.
people like that will be sprinkled in. You just don't know what to expect when you show up at one of these things.
Yeah, and it's not just, if you're a Doctor Who fan or Game of Thrones fan, Charlene Harris, who wrote the Sookie Stackhouse series, anyone who's a True Blood fan, Charlene Harris is going to be there as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's really, like you were saying earlier, there is something for everybody, no matter what kind of nerd you are.
Your Star Wars geekdom, your Star Trek geekdom, all of it.
Absolutely.
All of it.
Yeah.
George Lucas.
I don't think that brother's showing up. I don't think he's walking through those doors. No.
See. And if you're gonna go in costume,
Speaking of, we have a couple minutes left. Ben Affleck as Batman.
seriously, no. Ben Affleck.
I just kind of
Batgirl
shrugged. I'm like,
as Catwoman.
It almost felt like it's the kind of thing that casting that just almost had to happen sooner or later.
Really?
I
got one.
Matt Damon, Robin.
Oh
Well,
Lord!
oh my God.
No,
I
really?
got one word for you.
That's
Yeah.
horrible.
Daredevil.
Well, I know.
Ben
Well, that's the
all I need to say.
That's the other thing. I don't
That's
know.
all
It's
need to
very,
say.
very, very. Hollywood is a funny beast.
Well,
Hollywood
I
is
mean, the last Superman
unfortunately, this
I
isn't
didn't
funny.
think was very manly.
Unfortunately, this isn't funny.
You know who I wanted for Batman? I wanted our hometown boy, Armie Hammer.
Oh, I can see that.
And there was, for the longest time,
And
there
he's
was all this
very
talk that
attractive.
it might be Armie Hammer. And I don't know
That's
if...
the guy that played
if-
the Winklevoss. guy?
Right.
Yes. Well, he also
Yeah.
was the Lone Ranger this
Lone Ranger.
summer.
I didn't see that.
And he has like the
no.
jaw. I think when they cast Ben Affleck, they just
You
cast
get
his
it.
jaw.
Well,
That's all they
I-
cast.
Does he have the right jaw for Batman?
He has like
know.
it's a very square jaw.
Possible.
It's a very square, angular jaw.
I think somebody said it really well. I saw somebody say, well, another great Bruce Wayne, another lame Batman. Somebody pointed that out. They do have a kind of a tendency to cast great Bruce Waynes and not so great
I
Batman.
wonder where the
Interesting.
cat's career was going, where he was sort of going more
Well, he
for
was
this director,
That was what was.
kind of
Yeah,
direction.
See, that's the
yeah.
thing.
And
You
now
know,
we're-
people want to bag on Ben Affleck,
I
but
know,
I frankly,
he's a serious creative. man.
his
Yeah.
his
No two
movies
ways about
behind the
it.
camera, he's been great. He's been on fire.
I want him to
nothing
do
but love.
Gigli again. What's it called? Gigli?
Geely? Yeah, I don't know. I never saw that. I
I
couldn't
don't know
remember
about
that.
that. I can't help you
God,
there.
it was like him and J-Lo, right?
It was.
Yeah.
It was. Yeah.
Yeah, the Batman thing, I have to admit, I'm a bit before.
No.
I don't know. I think we all are.
Can J-Lo be the penguin? What? Wrong.
I don't think there's going to be a
Wrong.
penguin. I don't know. This is going to be a big Batman Superman thing.
haven't
You know,
bought-
this is a Justice League, right? That's what the movie is,
Is
right?
that what? No, well, I don't. I think this is. They're going to try to do.
Or is it just Batman and suits?
So the way I see it is, I think it's going to be them trying to copy the Marvel model
Okay.
in a certain sense. So
Right.
there's a bit of a deviation.
Okay.
So they're going to do these setup movies that will
Right,
eventually be
right,
sort of the
right.
big team movie.
Good Lord.
And I think. but
Well,
they've gotta-
everything's being done in trilogies now.
I don't know if it's going to be a trilogy.
I'd
as much
bet-
as- the
I'd
way-
bet my
I'll
ass.
throw out a diagram, and I don't know if it's going to work. But if you've already had your Superman project, so
Right.
the next one brings Batman into it, and I think then they hold on and maybe do a Flash, perhaps. God forbid if they
Oh.
bring back Ryan Richards.
I know there's a lot
Ryan
of people
Reynolds for
talking.
Green Lantern. I hope
you know,
not.
I don't
But I
watch.
think there's a couple more seed films, and then they'll try to do a Justice League.
I don't watch this show, but the other day I was reading something and people were talking about why not bring in Green Arrow, because everybody who watches that show is like nuts for it. Arrow.
I've heard good things
On,
about it. just
I don't watch
see
it either, so I don't know. I don't know.
But I do
On
think
which
it's
show?
These
gonna be-
days there is
Green
there
Arrow
is
is
no
a show?
lack of superhero stuff to watch.
Yeah,
I mean,
no, it's which
But
is
I
all
there's so
haven't
much
been
you can't even keep up.
is all-
this year.
Convinced by the casting, the casting directors in these big superhero movies. Like, okay, was it Tobey Maguire?
Yeah, Spider-Man.
Yeah, he's kind of girly to me.
Well,
that's
Peter
another
Parker's
situation.
supposed to
Exactly.
be a nerd. He's a high
He's
school
a great
student.
Peter Parker. He's not the best Spider-Man.
No,
Yeah, okay.
but you know what? I tell you what, that the last Spider-Man movie. Now, I liked the guy, but I cannot remember anything that happened in that movie.
Let me tell you
I
something.
mean, it's just like I might not as well have even seen.
I feel like
Graphics,
with these superhero and even genre movies, like, you know, including Star Wars or Star Trek, the actors or actresses that pull it off are, you know, when you talk about Alec Guinness as Obi-Wan, when you talk about Harrison Ford doing
Right.
either Indiana or Han Solo, Hugh Jackman doing Wolverine,
Right.
Robert Downey Jr. doing Iron Man, there is a very, very, very small circle of actors that are talented enough to pull this stuff off. Because I think it's really hard to pull off that dialogue and those costumes and those milieus, and do it in a convincing way that makes you feel like, oh my God, that almost is walking right through the screen. There's guys that sit on the screen, and I shouldn't say guys, there are guys and gals that sit on the screen, and then there are those that literally just pop off and live on forever.
And Downey's so good
and it is really hard to do this stuff.
In the last movie, they didn't even really focus on Iron Man that much. It was all the Downey show, you know?
Because he was larger than the screen, and I think it really takes a superlative actor or actress to pull this stuff off.
I think it takes
it's hard.
A comic book level of masculinity.
Well,
I think you have to be more masculine. You're running around in tights. You have to be more masculine than the average bear. Like, you have to be more burly, more muscular, just tougher looking, more rugged. Like, I want Harrison Ford. I want Indiana Jones. I want Obi-Wan. I want that rugged. If my car breaks down on the side of the road, Harrison Ford's going to change a tire.
Yeah, but
Ben Affleck is going to change a tire. He'll break a nail. But there's like this delicate thing. I just don't buy it.
Well, I think there's a thing of sort of, again, going back to the beginning of this whole conversation, it's making it personal. There are people who you can tell sort of have taken on the job, and they're there to do the job. And maybe they do a good job. But then there are people who literally take it personally, and those are the great ones in any field. And I think in this case, you know, when you got a Hugh Jackman, I mean, that guy embodies that character.
But
he's taken it on board.
Very masculine.
Yeah. I'm saying actresses, I just wish I could think of actresses in genre that have really pulled. The woman was Zoe Saldana, who pulled off the Uhura. I thought she did a phenomenal job.
She's an outstanding.
Amazing,
she's
yeah. What was that one where she was the murderer? Her parents were murdered.
Yeah, so it's not just, I guess what I want to say, it's not just a guy thing, not just guys can pull this stuff off, but it does take a superlative talent to pull off these genre roles.
Sure.
Ben Affleck, amazing talent as a creator. I'm just not sure if I'm buying him as Batman.
I guess it's the badass factor.
We'll have to wait and see.
So it's
You will have to wait and see.
I buy it.
Absolutely.
Anne Hathaway, very sexy, very sultry, very.
I thought she owned it.
Very cat. Yes, very smooth, very smooth lines. I bought that.
Yeah.
But let me think.
Michelle Pfeiffer,
not so much.
Not so much.
I think of her as like the bitch in Scarface.
So that can't even.
That was too cheap.
I don't know.
I think of Michelle Pfeiffer.
We haven't gotten a Wonder Woman.
Whining.
This is the amazing thing. That throughout all of this, we haven't gotten a Wonder Woman yet.
Who would play Wonder Woman? I don't think there's a good enough Wonder Woman right now.
Joss Whedon was trying to put together a Wonder Woman project not too long ago.
If it's
well, they
like
did
Demi
do. Actually,
Lovato,
David E. Kelly shot a pilot with one of the girls from Friday Night Lights.
I want to hear
Minka Kelly?
Joss Whedon was
it wasn't Minka Kelly.
Joss Whedon. Sorry,
it was the one who. God, why can't I think of her name? One who played Tyra.
Yeah, the blonde girl.
Yeah, of course. They did a pilot. But it went nowhere, and I don't think anybody ever actually saw it. I want to hear
this.
Well, I know Joss Whedon was trying to put together a Wonder Woman project.
Yeah.
I believe it either started off as a movie, and then it was trying to shift. He was just trying to make it, so he was going through all the options: TV, miniseries, TV show. I remember one of the actresses he wanted for that was Colby Sumners, who most people know as Robin from How I Met Your Mother.
I can see
but she's also on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Exactly.
She's going to be on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I think Vanessa Macias for Wonder Woman.
I don't think I'm badass enough for Wonder Woman. I mean, like,
give yourself a little credit.
I'm kind of a nerd, but I think she has to have. I love Colby. What's her name? Smulders. Colby Smulders, something like that, right?
Yeah.
And I love her, and because I love her dry sense of humor in the show, and I just love her character. I don't know her in interviews or anything, but I love her look. She has a very classic look. I can see her with big hair.
She is in Avengers.
She's the S.H.I.E.L.D. female up.
But I want her to have. I want Wonder Woman to be like stacked, like kapow.
Well,
you know,
she is supposed to be a member of an Amazonian race.
Yeah.
So she is supposed to be tall and big. And,
like I want her to.
Hey man, Linda Carter rocked it back in the '70s, as we all know.
Yeah, and I want her to have like Sophia Loren proportions.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And have the Colby. Was her last Smulders is why I wanted to say. I don't know.
No, that's
the dark hair and the blue eyes and just like the classic beauty face, but just kapow body. Like you need that, and I can't think of anybody right now who.
Do you think someone like Michelle Rodriguez could pull that off?
Oh, she's a man. Michelle Rodriguez should be Batman. I think her penis is bigger than Ben Affleck's. Jeez. I'm sorry. My friend Gilbert is in love with Michelle Rodriguez, and he's gonna just shoot me right now for saying it. But oh my, he loves her. And it's like she's a dude. Like she's tough. But I think she's too masculine for Wonder Woman.
This has been
And her
the
penis will hang
nerdiest
out of the
episode of this
trunks.
show ever,
Good.
right?
Oh,
Good.
By
I love
far.
this.
This is awesome.
I like
This
it.
has been great.
And for anyone watching, if you do love these conversations arguing superheroes
God.
and anything like this,
Oh my
and you
God.
don't have a membership to Worldcon yet,
Yes.
this is your invitation. This is
Do it now.
This is a whole weekend plus of conversations like this and nerding out and geeking out, and it is a hell of a lot of fun.
It is, and it spills. If you do it right, it doesn't just last the weekend. It ends up literally. I mean, it can change your life. It did for me. I have to
Wow.
admit, between World Fantasy Con and Worldcon, I mean, that literally is sort of ground zero for my career. That the relationships that got built out of this stuff, both fan and pro. I mean, that's kind of in around 96, 97, 98. That's where my career basically began. It was because of these things. So,
I think that your talent helped a little bit.
Maybe a little bit, right? Yeah.
The fact that you're able to do that.
If
yeah.
people want to see more of your art or, hey, purchase some of it, where do they do it?
JohnPicacio.com is where you can go look and shop for the prints of my stuff for book covers and for Song of Ice and Fire. And then go look at lone-boy.com if you want to see the stuff I'm doing for Loteria.
Lone-boy.com for
Lone Boy.
the Mexican bingo.
There you go. Exactly.
If I can translate it for everybody out there.
Loteria.
And then I also want to spell your name for everybody because,
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
Picacio. And look at that.
there you go.
I see
Oh, look
that
at
on the wall.
that.
Somebody's working back there.
Oh my gosh, that's so great. I have a friend who's like in the market for
Hey,
new
and that
art
image
he's
right now that's
die
on the
now.
screen,
Uh-huh.
it was for a book called The Creative Fire, book one of Ruby's song by Pyre, and that cover image, I'm doing a big vinyl banner that's going to hang in my art show.
Oh, cool.
And in the art show, you have these little bid sheets, and whoever bids the highest wins the item. I will not be keeping the money for that item. That piece of art. Whoever wins it, the amount of money that we get bid on for that art will go to Planned Parenthood.
Oh, cool.
And it's sort of a gesture to
Good.
help out with the Stand with Texas Women effort. So getting a little bit political there, but
That's
there you have
awesome.
it. So
My uterus says thank you. And
You're welcome.
the future inhabitants of my uterus that should not be inhabiting my uterus. Thank you as well.
right on,
Yes.
right on.
And yeah.
He's about to crawl under the curtain
He's
right
like,
now.
oh,
He's like,
hell.
thank God this is my last
I
day.
thought I was coming on to talk, science fiction fantasy. I didn't think we'd talk uteruses today.
If I had a child, if something was in my uterus, that would be science fucking fiction.
There you go.
Like, first off, I've been on
Yeah,
birth
this
control
sounds
since
like
I
a
was
Cronenberg
born.
movie.
And second, I mean, it would be like the asshole that takes over the planet. Let's be honest. So there are things that shouldn't happen, and that's one of them. So
Excellent.
neither here nor there. But no, it's really awesome that you're going to contribute to Planned
Yeah.
Parenthood,
Well,
and
it's
people
an
think about
opportunity.
Planned Parenthood like, oh, they're baby killers. No, it's so much more than that. It's reproductive health care. It's
are
for
talking. That's
yeah,
it.
and
That's
it's
exactly right.
if people don't have access to a regular gynecologist or to anybody who can help them with STDs or education, little things that we like to just dust under the rug here in Texas, Planned Parenthood helps them in so many other facets than just abortions. So please contribute. Go to John's website right now and buy his art, and also go to your art show. When's
Go
your
to that
art
art
show?
show and bid on that Creative Fire banner that we'll have there in the art show at Worldcon, Lone Star Con 3. And the dates are
It's August 29th.
29th through September 2nd.
at the Henry B. Gonzalez Convention Center.
Awesome.
And at the Marriott River Center.
Perfect. All right, buy your tickets now because you don't want to wait in line. San Antonio's a walk-up town, and you'll be in line for a
You don't
long
want to be
time.
standing in line in a costume
No,
in the
no,
middle
no.
of August in this town.
God.
Just get in
And
there.
please get more creative than Slave Leia.
Well, you know.
That's for home. Slave Leia is for home. Let's be honest. It's not for walking around outside.
I don't know.
I've been going to these
I'm not gonna
conventions
say
for
anything.
years. I can probably count on one hand the number of times I've actually seen a slave Leia.
Are you kidding
I don't
me?
know. At this
I will-
convention,
I will
Oh,
admit,
those, yeah.
I've been to very few
Those.
larger conventions like Worldcon. Most of mine are the smaller ones, but Slave Leia,
That's
I think
strictly a
it-
Comic-Con thing, right?
I think it's definitely perpetuated more than it's an actual. You see people walking around like that.
Okay.
It's overblown.
It's
by
an,
quite
it's
a
an
bit.
I've seen some
iconic
Slave
image.
Leias
It's
at
easy to
Comic-Con.
grab 5 or 6 pictures of them, put them all together,
That's
and make
true.
it seem like there are many more than there probably actually are. The slave lady that gets my attention is the one whose husband is dressed like Jabba the Hutt. Then we're good to go.
That's awesome.
That
Which
is the
happens in
cosplay
San
I want to see.
Antonio.
I think no matter what we say, she's over it. I think that's
No, I think it's for home. Come as a stormtrooper, dude. Come as Yoda if you're a chick. Like, hot Yoda, come on.
Hot Yoda.
Yoda needs a resurgence. So, yeah.
Awesome.
All right, well, thank you so much. And,
Thanks, guys.
is there anything else anybody wants to pimp?
No, it's awesome.
All right.
Good times.
Well, thanks for dorking out with us. That's fun. And
This was fun.
yeah, that was
I
really
wish Chris had been here too.
Me too.
To enjoy all of
Me
this.
too. I had
this
to sit
nuttiness.
through y'all's Neil Diamond stuff.
That was Barry Manilow, not
Barry
Neil
Manilow,
Diamond.
cheese and crackers. I always get them mixed up. I've never seen them together.
Have you seen either one of them, period?
No. I've never seen
There you
Michael
go.
and LaToya either, but no, Michael and Janet, but they were together on like an MTV Music Award thing, so it's like, maybe they're not the same person. Yeah, and also we think Graham Weston is Batman. I've never seen Graham Weston and Batman together. Graham Weston, Adam West. Cryptic. Odd. Yeah, I'm on to something here. All right, so being on to something, let's go on to something else like the rest of our lives. And thank you for joining us. Thank you to
guys.
Ross Ruediger. Thank you to John. Say your last name again, please.
Picacio.
John Picacio. And to Matt Duarte, who's leaving us forever. Of course, we
Big
get
round
him.
of applause for Matt.
Yes, we get him in the studio, and then he takes off. Thanks, Matt.
And thank y'all for having me. It was a lot of fun working here with Vanessa and Roel and Chris and Kirsten and Andrew and everyone else who's been here this summer. Dawn.
It's been a fun summer. Lots of friends coming through here.
I'm really mad that I have to go back to school.
Oh, well, you can always come back and visit anytime. And yeah, so again, UTSA newspaper. I don't know how people can support that if they're not at UTSA. How do they support it?
Well, I might pimp this later, but we're technically a nonprofit. UTSA's newspaper, student newspaper, we're called the Paisano. And if you want to contribute to us, we are a nonprofit, so you can go find us. Paisano Educational Trust is who you'd want to be giving money to.
Okay.
I did not anticipate pimping that out today, so I don't have that information with me. But Paisano is a wonderful student endeavor.
Yeah.
And we actually have our first issue of the semester coming out today. I was up
Cool.
late last night helping put that together.
Awesome.
Good.
All right.
This man doesn't stop.
So check out the Paisano. Check out John Picacio. Check out, what are you working on, Ross? Everything in life.
I'm just working. Today I was working on bringing John here. That was my goal.
Ross just makes San Antonio
done.
better. And be his friend on Facebook because he's freaking hilarious.
So funny.
And then support San Antonio Missions, who are a playoff band, and also Alzheimer's Awareness Night tomorrow. And Eric Pinto, another local artist, you've seen him on TalkNowSA. He has a GoFundMe project. So I would go to GoFundMe and search Eric Pinto, amazingly talented artist as well. And he has a lot of... Yeah, he has a wide spectrum of things, and the eyes in his paintings are just absolutely phenomenal. So support him and support local art any place you can, because let's grow this art scene here. All right, thanks, San Antonio. We'll see ya. Have a nice Friday. Don't drink and drive.
Thanks, guys.